Hi, I'm Dr. Sandeep Kate from Satara, and I'm going to show you how to do a spin top boomerang right now. You got that? Huh? So a spin top is said to be rotating at the speed of 3600 rotations per minute. And still it appears almost as if it is standing still. So I take it as an inspiration. So keep moving, but still always stay stable.
Okay, welcome to this episode of Movement Medicine Podcast. Thank you to everyone that's joined us for the previous episodes. We really appreciate all of your engagement, your feedback and your comments so far. We hope you've enjoyed the episodes and the guests that we've had on. Please continue to share with your friends, your family and your colleagues. And please like the Facebook page, share the Facebook content, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. So we thank our partners for the podcast. That's the Fit India Movement, the Back to Fitness Clinic, which is the clinic that Rajat runs, La Ultra the High, which is the race that Rajat puts together in Ladakh, and also the Moving Mountains Within Film, which is the film about the 10th edition of La Ultra the High. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Rajat, who will formally introduce today's guest.
Thank you, Darren, and thank you all for watching yet another episode of Movement Medicine. And today we have the Phantom of India. Dr. Sandeep Kate is with us, and he should just showed us something very fascinating. I mean, I can actually challenge any doctor in India if they can actually do that, or anywhere, right? I mean, UK or the rest of the world. So Sandeep, welcome on board.
Thank you so much, Rajat. And thank you for having me here.
Awesome, Sandeep. It's a pleasure. So, Sandeep, just take us through what you just did and the T-shirt that you're wearing. Please first talk about that, and then we'll talk about the rest.
So, spinning tops is one of my hobbies. I rather think of myself more as a hobby person, rather than as a doctor. So I've got a lot of spin tops in my collection. I also collect spin tops. I actually happen to be one of the a few spin top collectors in the world. In fact, I'm the only one in India as I know it. So I'm also a member of the International Top Spinners Association. It's a group of guys who are into spinning and collecting spin tops. So I've got quite a collection. I would like to show you someday. But right now I've got here a few tops to show you. Some of my interesting spin tops. So I've got spin tops ranging from a very small size, teeny weeny. You can see this one. It's a very small one, hardly a few grams, right? From there until the biggest spin top that I have in my collection is about 60 kilograms, a wooden spin top. This one here is a spin top from the island of Lombok in Indonesia. So there's a lot of different tops. I've got a few photographs to show you here from different countries, the spin tops that I've collected. And I've also got a video, the interesting video, if we can show it here, a small video of 1 minute, where I'm spinning the large spin top, which is of the 60 kg spin top. So I'd like to show that small video here. And I'm also into connecting comics. If you can see behind me is my library here, and just below the regular books and other stuff. And by the way, none of them are academic books. All about comics and other things. Okay. And these are my comics here. So I collect comics. These are my comic collections here. A few of them I have in my hand here. I collect comics, especially the Phantom. The Phantom is my favorite character. As you can see here, these are Indrejal comics. They published in the 1960s. So I've got a huge collection of Indrejal from the 60s and comics, in fact, from all over the world, about 4,000 of them to be precise. And also Chandamama. People from India know about this, right? Chandamama. So these are Chandamama English. I've also got Marathi, Hindi. These are from the 70s, by the way. Very old Chandamama comics. So I'm into collecting vintage comics. That's my passion. And Phantom, as you can see, is my favorite character. I've also done my wife and my son and my daughter were very embarrassed when I did that. But in 2016, we were in a comic convention in Mumbai, and I had dressed up as the Phantom. So people are looking around, and I had my underwear on my outside. So I would like to share a photo of that here as well. So that's what I do for fun, apart from my medical practice, largely, and running, of course.
So if that's your full-time hobby, can you tell us about your part-time professional activities?
Yeah. So I am a doctor. I am a surgeon by qualification. I am a general surgeon. I've done my MS and DNB in general surgery. got into medical actually quite by fluke, you can say that, because I had not got an admission. I had not made the cutoff list for the medical admission. So I was doing my engineering, but one fine day, as it happened, my Mamaji, my maternal uncle, he was reading, as is his habit, a newspaper in his toilet, sitting on the toilet. And he saw that there was an advertisement there that the medical admissions have again started. So basically, I had given up hopes on my medical career. But my Mamaji saw this list and he ran. Of course, he bothered to put on his clothes, I hope. And then he came down to Kurla, where I stayed back then. So I was basically brought up in Mumbai, in a suburb called Nehru Nagar in Kurla, Mumbai. So my Mamaji came from Mulund to Mumbai. He rushed to home and he showed me this list, and I saw, oh, my name was there in that list. So at the very last moment, I managed to get into medical college. And from there, I went to JNMC Medical College in Savangi Meghe, Wardha in Maharashtra, and that was in 1992. So those were magical years for me. Those medical college years from 92 till 1998, 99 almost. So when I did my MBBS, my batch, I proudly recollect, and we call our batch the Impulse 92 batch. So I'm going to say a hi to my Impulse batchmates here. I'm very proud of them. My MBBS years they were very nice, So a lot of memories. My teachers, they were there, especially Dr. S.R. Zorapurkar, who got me interested into surgery, because of which I became eventually a surgeon. Dr. Bhute ma'am, Dr. J.K. Deshmukh, Pathak sir, Pathak ma'am, Dr. Wagh sir from pediatrics. These were the guys who helped me in my difficult times. So that's how it went. My MBBS was a very happy period there. And from there, I went on to Nagpur to do my MS in general surgery in 1999, 2000. And I passed out from there in 2002 after doing my MS general surgery. And my guide over there was Dr. J.B. Hedau, and my emotional and philosophical anchor over there was Dr. B.S. Gedam. So I'm very thankful to those teachers also. So I passed out in 2002 MS general surgery. I practiced in a few places after that, in Ahmednagar, in Chandrapur for 2 years. And then when it came time to finally settle down, I came back here to Satara, which is my native place. I didn't go back to Bombay because I had gotten used to the small town life by then. So I decided to come back to my native place in Satara because my father was also going to retire around that time. He was a police officer. So we came down back to Satara, and ever since, from 2004 till 2020 now, I've been practicing here for the last 16 years as a proctologist. So after doing my MS general surgery, what happened is I happened to meet one person called Dr. Praveen Gupta in Nagpur. So he he was a different person. I mean, I'd never heard of a specialist branch called proctology back then. So this was a person who used to, work very fixed hours from about 10 o'clock in the morning till about 3 or 4 o'clock. That's it. Apart from that, he used to have a cool life. He used to go swimming in the morning, badminton in the evenings, and a very laid back style, because proctology has very few emergencies, and that was not what I had seen. Usually general surgeons have a very hectic lifestyle and night calls and all. So I said, this is what I want to do. And that's what I did. So when I came back here in Satara, I also took up proctology as a branch. As you know, proctology deals with the aboral end of the gastrointestinal tract, so the opposite end of the mouth. So in layman's terms, diseases called, जिसको हिंदी में बवासीर कहते हैं या मराठी में मूल व्याधि, in English like piles, piles, fissures and fistula. So I deal with those cases mostly, and I also deal with hernia, but it's majorly proctology and a bit of hernia. That's my practice now, which I've been doing for the last 16 years here at Surya Prabha Hospital, Proctology and Hernia Specialty Center in Satara.
So Sandeep, that's amazing. Now tell me one thing, just going back to the story that you just said. So was your Mamaji sitting on a Western WC or an Indian one?
No, back then none of us had those Western luxuries, so to say. We had Indian toilets, of course. And by the way, I also have picked up that habit from him. So it's only that I now sit in a Western toilet. But reading in a toilet has led to a lot of things in my life. Right from that moment when he read about it in the toilet till this moment when I'm also practicing proctology now. And that toilet thing also has a good bearing on my running story as well. Please tell us. No, what is the story? Okay. So when I talk about my even the career part was kind of a fluke, like I told you just now, but especially this other thing that has happened to my life, this running and this sports and becoming a sports icon of sorts, it's actually nothing short of a magical story for me. So it's like a Forrest Gump like thing. So I'm sure you've seen this movie Forrest Gump, and I think I've heard that Amir Khan is now coming up with this Hindi movie called Lal Singh Chadda based on Forrest Gump very soon. So when I was a kid, this running and this fitness, and of course, it was not on the radar at all. What happened was that uh, uh, as a kid, I had these thick soda, what do you call soda water, thick glasses. I was kind of a nerd. I was not into sports at all. We did play some gully sports like gully cricket and football, but I never got into even the playing 11 of my building's cricket team. So I was called names like Chashmish and Battery and Dapni. I'm kind of bullied a bit, if you may say so. I'm a very thin guy. So but when it turned around, when in around 87, 88, when I started watching those movies on VHS, those cassettes that used to come back then. We didn't have DVD and Bluetooth back then. We had these VCRs on which I started watching movies of Hollywood stars like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and movies like Rambo, Rocky, and Commando. They came along, and what happened is I saw kids from the neighborhood, the police line that I stayed in, going to the gym. So I started going to the gym also, and I put on a bit of muscle. Then little bit of muscle, but that gave me a lot of confidence. So when I went from there to my medical college, first to junior college and then to medical college, what happened is I stood out kind of, as the guy with the muscles. So even though there was not much of muscle back then, but it made a difference. It gave me a different kind of confidence. So when I went to Wardha and from there to Nagpur, I was known kind of as the athletic types. So that's why I say it's a Forrest Gump-like story. But I was not really into running as such. I used to play football there. I used to play gully football in Mumbai. So I became kind of a captain of the football team in my medical college years. So we also managed to win a trophy, at least the inter-batch trophy that was there. We won that trophy. So that's a very proud moment from my memories that I would like to share here. And once medical college was over, I went to Nagpur. There, so as you know, MS General Surgery, you hardly get any time to do exercise or workout. It's like slogging for hours and hours at end. So when I came back from medical college, I came back to Satara. So 2004 till 2012, again, not much of exercise. I gained a lot of weight. I was around 10 kgs plus from what I am now. So I'm now 73. I was 83, 84 kgs back then in 2012. Again, coming to the toilet story now. So that is when it happened. In 2012, I was in Mahabaleshwar with my family, just for a family trip. And I was just going across an old magazine in the toilet. And I came across this article about Mr. Amit Sheth, whom I'm sure you know very well. Amit and Nipa Sheth, who are the first couple from India to finish the Comrades Ultra Marathon. So I said, oh God, look at these people. He started running at 36 and he ran the Ultra Marathon. And so what am I doing here? Just piles and piles, fistula. Isme kahan atak pada hu main? So I said, we should also do something now. So I came out and told my wife, I'm going to start running. But back then there were not too many events back then. So still another thing is when I came out of the toilet, as luck would have it, the Mumbai Marathon was playing live on TV at that very moment. And the kids were looking out for their mama. So my wife's brother Sachin and Jyoti, they used to run every year in the Mumbai Marathon. So at that point of time, I said, this is, something God sent. So I'm thinking about running and immediately this thing is there on TV. So I made up my mind, now I have to do it. So I went online, searched and found an event, which was the Jim Corbett National Park coming up in 3 months. So I trained, whatever I trained, whatever was possible in Satara, no guidance back then, no online. I got some programs from online, but I ran myself largely. My friends used to laugh, and why are you running so much 5K and 10K in my practice runs? But finally, I did my half marathon in Jim Corbett National Park in Uttarakhand on 7th of April 2012, just about 8 years ago. And from there it just went on. So I did my first full marathon just 4 months later in August in Hyderabad. So I went there with my wife and my kids and my parents, and that was my wife's first half marathon as well. So I did my first full and my wife did her first half, and that's how she got into it. So when we came back from Hyderabad, and I had been toying with this idea in my head ever after coming back from Corbett Marathon, that we should organize such an event here in Satara. So my wife, when she saw the whole thing in Hyderabad, the Hyderabad runners are a wonderful bunch of people and they organized it so well. It was their second edition. And I came back to Satara, and my wife and me, so we got our friends together and we told them that we need to do something like this here in Satara. Initially, everybody was kind of skeptic, but they said, okay, itna banda enthusiasm se bol raha hai to kuch hoga isme. So that is how the idea of the Satara Hill Half Marathon happened. and from there we organized the first edition in 2012 August. So that was like within 6 to 7 months of me starting running, we organized the first Satara Hill Half Marathon, and I'm very happy and proud to say that the Satara Hill Half Marathon has now gone on to become a very sought after event and a very popular event in the Indian running community. Not only here, but it has also earned international accolades. So it has gone on to be earn a place in the Guinness Book of World Records for the most people in a single mountain run. And yeah, but surprising actually that so many people run, so many people are fit and everything. And yeah, actually people tell me, doctor, are you not hitting yourself in the stomach? You're making people run, and people will stop having ailments, people will not have piles anymore if you just keep on motivating people to run. But that's fortunately not happened. I've still got a lot of patients, they come from everywhere. So the Satara Hill Half Marathon has also been counted as one of the best events in the world, in the best 50 events in the world by nobody less, not twice, but in the world for 2015, 16, and 2018 again. So yeah, that makes us very happy and proud. We were on the cover of the Distance Running magazine in 2015 as well. So it's been a nice journey, and the event now sells out in just about 1 hour flat. So we are very popular, as Rajat I'm sure would attest to.
That's absolutely fantastic. It's great to hear that story. I just wonder whether you could tell us about how your running and all your activities associated with running has helped you in your professional activity.
So running helps me basically to balance the entire thing. I can't be very truthful if I say that yeah, I enjoy doing piles very much. I can't say that. I enjoy operating on patients and all the bloody things. So that comes as a part of my business. That's my bread and butter. But running helps me balance it out. So in the mornings, I'm out running. I'm fortunate to be living here in Satara. It's a very hilly and very beautiful natural area. So I'm out for a run in the morning. And now, especially in the early days, there were not many people out there, but now so many people are running in the hills. And because of the event, people are really into it almost all the year round. So it's nice to be running out in the morning, forgetting everything else. And then I come back. We don't have to travel much here in Satara. It's a nice, beautiful, quaint city. So I come back and then I'm ready for my 5-6 hours of piles duty. So that's how it balances me out, and it helps me. Running and my profession, they are very well balanced right now.
No, that's awesome here. So how do you take care in a small little town doing piles? Are there enough of people with piles there, or what happens?
Yeah, enough for me to go to earn my bread and butter. But Rajat, actually, as it, what the thing is that these piles, what I'm operating on, what I'm seeing, it's still a drop in the ocean. Basically, hemorrhoids or piles, this condition is ubiquitous to mankind. So wherever you go, be it Satara or any other place in India or the world for that matter, maybe it's because of the increased sedentary lifestyle, or I don't know what the reason is, or maybe it's there since ages, because basically it's said that once man stood up and started walking, that is when he got piles. Otherwise, animals are not supposed to have it because they're like this, horizontal. So man became erect, and then the blood pressure, the blood all came down here, and it seems that's because of that they started having piles. But having said that, largely the patients of piles, they don't actually go to doctors. They're afraid of surgery. They're afraid of the conventional treatment. So quacks are making merry a lot. So majority of the patients of piles are actually going out to quacks because they are afraid of the thing called surgery. There are misconceptions about surgeries and all. But still, there are so many patients out there. In fact, we need more doctors getting into piles to help these patients out. The surgeons usually tend to neglect this aspect. They are into the fancy big surgeries, of course, that's also necessary. The heart surgeons and the neurosurgeons, and that is necessary. But the general surgeons also, they tend to kind of go into more of abdominal surgery, and piles is kind of last on their list. So, but I made it my specialty, and I have taken it upon me to take care of this and help and try to help dispel some of the myths associated with this. Like the myths, like the surgery doesn't cure at all, and injection is a miracle cure and all. So I'm doing my bit, and we need more people to do this. Actually, more surgeons to come aboard.
So Sandeep, why do you think people go to the quacks instead of through conventional medicine? Is it because of sort of the cultural background behind it, or is it just because they're scared of the traditional medical fraternity?
Yeah. One important part is that the quacks, I don't know how they manage it, but it seems there's a university, they seem to be coming out of a university kind of. Many of them claim to be from Bengal, with no malice towards Bengal or Kolkata, but most of them have names and surnames making them look as if they are from that particular area. And they all have managed to somehow create this myth that surgery leads to complications. That surgery, it has to be very painful, so pain, complications, and they also have managed to spread the word around that it is not the definitive cure, so it leads to recurrence. So ek bar aap surgery karoge, once you operate, you have to keep operating again and again. So there are reasons why this happens, because very few of the cases actually have complicated fistula. So just today morning I operated on a complicated fistula with abscess. So surgeons, for one, they don't really apply themselves to this particular part, because of which maybe the results are not up to par at the hands of some surgeons, but that's not the case in most of the cases. Difficult cases, of course, okay, some cases may get a recurrence, but that's just 0.1% of the cases. But for the remaining 99.9% of the cases where there is a very definitive surgical cure, the surgeons somehow have been managed to be upstaged by these quacks who have managed to spread the word around that surgery leads to recurrence and we have a magic cure. So they end up actually giving injections and giving some magic cures, magic pills to patients who don't really need surgery. So you see, out of every 10 patients that I see, 8 patients don't need surgery in the first case. So we just advise them health lifestyle changes and give them basic medications, laxatives, and advise them to have a lot of roughage and water, and they're okay. So these are the very patients to whom these quacks advise, I'll give you an injection, I'll give you this ointment, and you apply it, and that will be okay. So they end up believing that surgery leads to complications, which is actually very, very rare, and non-surgical methods are better. So that's the reason why patients tend to avoid. So I get out of every 10 patients that I get, the almost 6 to 7 patients have already been to a quack and had an injection.
Interesting, Sandeep, because generally the perception is that surgery is just generally bad. We don't.
Yeah.
No one is addressing the point. There's a good role of surgery when done at the right time. If there's a right patient, right condition, the results are amazing. Sandeep, coming to our colleagues who are very inactive, have been slobs. Maybe they were very active before college, before MBBS, and then life caught on after that. What do we do about them? How do we get them more active? Great Satara runs is there, but otherwise, how do we generally change across the country?
Oh, we need more initiatives like what Darren and you are doing. That's a good start actually that you made. You have already this is such a good idea to get doctors who are also into the fitness thing on board on a single platform like you're doing right now in this initiative called Movement. So we need many more initiatives like that, and all of us who are into it need to be spreading out the good word. So after this is done, I'm going to be sharing this with all my doctor friends. That is one for sure. It's our duty. It's our sacred duty to pass on the good word. So that's one. And of course, leading by example, showing by example, as we have been doing. That's the other part. So here in Satara, we have the Satara Hill Half Marathon, because of which people have really taken up running seriously. Most of my doctor colleagues, by virtue of me being a doctor, so my wife's friends, my friends, primarily who are doctors, most of them, they have started running themselves. And now I have inspired maybe 10 people. My wife has inspired 10 of her friends, and they are all inspiring many more people. So now the thing is spreading like a virus now, a healthy virus, a fitness virus. The trend is spreading amongst the doctors as well as the general population.
So just picking up on your point about the virus there, obviously, you mentioned as well that people have been sort of leading sedentary lifestyles considerably over the last few decades, and that could lead to issues such as piles. Obviously, we're in a position of lockdown currently, so we've kind of had an enforcement of further sedentary lifestyle. Is there any recommendations that you could give for people to stay active?
Yeah. So it's been a bit of a challenge for me personally, very frankly speaking. In the first few days and the first few weeks, we did manage to put up a brave face, but then as the days went on, dragging, it was not really easy to keep on staying active. But then we have to pull ourselves back. Otherwise, like we know, it's like a slide. Once it starts to go down, it just keeps on going down. So we have to pull back ourselves and keep up the spirit. So what I suggest is, first of all, it's a good thing that we have been thrown into these closed spaces where we are now with family. So the family members, we should inspire each other. We are already working out together in a sense that we are forced to do our chores now. So it's a good thing. So it's not just that we have to pick up weights or just go out on a track and run. Just keeping moving around, being active the whole day, that itself leads to a lot of activity and burning of calories. So that keeps us fit. So now I've been washing the utensils alternate day with my wife and my kids. We're sharing all those duties and jhadu poncha. So all of this has actually helped a lot. We have come together as a family. We've been talking to each other much more, and we've made some rules now because we're indoor. My son, for example, he likes to play video games. So I made it a rule for him that he should, when he's playing a video game, he's not allowed to sit down at all. So he might play half an hour or 1 hour. So, but he has to stand up when he's playing, and every 10 or 15 minutes he has to take a break and he has to go for, let's say, 25 or 30 squats or 10 or 15 push-ups. So that's the rule. So if he does that well, I actually give him a bonus. So he can play 1.5 hours at a stretch if he keeps on doing these exercises. So these are the ideas that we need to do. We also try to play indoor games. You know, I have created an indoor marbles game. I would like to show you actually, maybe if possible later on, a small video of the soil games that we organize here in Satara. So we organize every year in the second week of August, this thing called the Indian Traditional Games Day, when we play games out there. You know, the games that are being lost in the sands of time. People are now forgetting some old games. So like Gilli Danda and spinning tops and marbles and all. So that was one thing. One more thing that I would like to share here is that to promote more people to keep on running in this time of lockdown, what we did is, because our registration was supposed to start on the 10th of April this year, the registration for the 9th edition of the Satara Hill Half Marathon, which unfortunately right now is in a bit of a doubt. So we had to postpone that. And the 10th of April was supposed to be the International Day of the Marathon, which was an idea that I was actually promoting, because that happens to be the 125th anniversary of the very first marathon, which was held in Athens, 1896. Oh, by the way, I also have run the 1896 the Athens Marathon, the authentic, in 2015. So I'm very proud of that also. I would like to show a photo here of my Athens Marathon run. Okay, so what we did is that on the 10th of April, when the registration was supposed to happen, but it didn't, we decided to organize an event called the Virtual Indoor Marathon. So the Virtual Indoor Marathon that we did was quite a hit. We got about 3,000 plus registrations for the event itself, and out of those, about 1,600, 1,700 all people actually ran in their homes. Some of them ran on the treadmill, some of them ran on the terrace, some of them ran within their halls and balconies, but they ran distances ranging from 5K till way up till 42 kilometers. So it was nice. So they uploaded the results, and we are going to send them. We have sent them online certificates already yesterday, and we are also planning to send all of the participants medals by post. So that will going to be that's going to be a souvenir for them. You know, medals earned during lockdown period for all of them.
Sandeep, it's been amazing listening to you. Anything else, maybe in summary, or maybe that's something that you missed out that you want to add here, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's very important for people to remember that life is about balance. You're not supposed to overdo anything. So just go for a proper balance of everything. You know, professional life, your hobbies, your personal life, your family life. You have to balance everything, and that is what this period particularly has taught us a lot. That is one important thing. And secondly, I like to give a message out to everyone, in the sense that we are all a community of runners, a fraternity of runners. When we started running here, when I started running, we made it into a community movement here in Satara. This movement became a movement in the entire Western Maharashtra region. So many people are now organizing events in even small places like tehsils and districts all over Maharashtra, Western Maharashtra. So we're happy and proud that we were able to inspire so many people to start running and form running communities all over the region. And what I think is that we all need to stay together as a family, come together, and the government and the government's policies need to encourage this kind of activity. So this is basically a participative sport which is playing a huge role in the fitness of the nation overall. Like we have the Fit India movement now. So these runners, these are people who are making the entire nation of runners and strong and fit people. So the government policies also need to be catering to this, because we are not a spectator sport, like cricket or football. We are actually this is a participative sport, and people are making us all stronger overall. So we should all stay together as a community. And I would like to thank you very much, Rajat and Darren, for this initiative where you are spreading the good word around in such a nice way.
Another thing is that you should never give up on your dreams. So in September 2018, I had a retinal detachment, unexpectedly, suddenly, out of nowhere. So my retina, which is the last layer on the back of the eye, in my left eye, I had a detachment. That was because of my long-standing myopia since childhood, this large number that I had in my eyes. So after that, I underwent emergency surgery. I had my friends Dr. Bokil and Dr. Khade to thank for the timely diagnosis, and Dr. Kabra, who did the surgery. He saved my eye. But it was a difficult period. I was told initially that I would not probably be able to run ever again. I mean, running was there, but no weightlifting and all was said. But I came out of that difficult period and started running slowly with advice from further specialists who said that running is okay, weightlifting too much maybe not, but running is allowed. And I have had the best running of my life after that. So in fact, I did my best comrades in 2019 after that incident. So I had run comrades before in 2013, the upper run, and down run in 2014 also. But my previous best was 10 hours and 45 minutes, the bronze medal. So when I ran this year in 2019, last year, I ran my best comrades. I got the Robert Mishali medal, which is just under 10 hours. And I also did my best full marathon, just under 3 hours and 30 minutes recently in February in New Delhi. So never give up. And sometimes a setback can be actually a blessing in disguise.
Well, thank you, Sandeep. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast and hear about all of your hobbies and your part-time activity as a surgeon as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Darren. A pleasure.
Thank you, Sandeep.
Thank you, Rajat.
Thank you. So we'll bring this episode of Movement Medicine to a close. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll bring you the next episode very soon.